Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Shooting for the Stars podcast with your one and only Cameron Williams. And today I'll be recapping the 2024 NBA Finals, which concluded last night in Game 5 in a 106-88 victory for the Boston Celtics to win them their 18th NBA championship, which surpasses the Lakers for most all time. And today in this video, I'll be discussing that. Before I get into the in-depth of this series, I also want to let y'all know I'll also be breaking down have the Celtics. Does this mean the Celtics now have surpassed the Los Angeles Lakers for the best franchise now in the NBA? And also, of course, now that the NBA season has concluded, I'll also be breaking down a little bit, getting into about the Los Angeles Lakers, who potentially could be their next head coach. And we'll be getting any updates, any answers to see who the next head coach will be for the Los Angeles Lakers. We all know that Dan Hurley turned down that $70 million offer, and now we're starting to think that the Los Angeles Lakers even viewed as the exact same franchise as they once were. We'll be discussing all that in today's video, so just hang tight, and we'll be getting into it. So let's start off with the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. Again, Celtics win last night 106-88 fashion, and it's by no means. But before I get into it, before I break it down, I want to give credit to the Boston Celtics. You give credit when credit's due. From start to finish, the Boston Celtics were absolutely the better team. Many will argue that their road to the finals was a lot easier than the Mavericks, no doubt about it, which I believe the Mavericks were a lot more tired. But no, man, the Boston Celtics were a better team. They were a better coach. Joe Mazzulla out-coached Jason Kidd, in my opinion. I mean, I say that the Mavericks' best chance in this series was to get Game 3, and I feel like that call, what I want to believe, with 5:45 left to go in Game 3, man, was when Jason Kidd called that timeout. Who calls a timeout when your team's on a 22-2 run? Like, what? You can't do that. It came out. It messed up the momentum of the game. They came out, like I said, 22-2 run, man. The Mavericks were hitting on all cylinders. Kyrie Irving had completely bounced back from a horrible Game 1 and Game 2 he played on the road in Boston. Kyrie Irving combined for 28 points in Game 1 and Game 2. Shot horrendously, and I mean absolutely horrendously from the field and the three-point line in both those games, and only to bounce back with 35 points in Game 3. 13 for 28 from the field goal percentage, 45%. He was a lot more aggressive in that game, playing like the Kyrie Irving who we all know he could be. Game 4, he was a little bit not as aggressive, 21 points, but a lot better than Game 1 and Game 2. But all in all, the 3 games that we've seen Kyrie Irving play in Boston and really in this series, Kyrie Irving was absolutely the definition of what it's like to be held in check. Period. And I love Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving's a great player. I'm a Kyrie Irving fan. Grew up watching Kyrie Irving. The greatest skilled player I've ever seen. He's an 8-time All-Star, a 3-time member of the All-NBA team. I mean, heck, for crying out loud, before this series started, Kyrie Irving was a champion. He was an NBA champion. We didn't forget about the 2016 NBA Finals, that game-winning shot he hit over Steph Curry with the Cleveland Cavaliers. We didn't forget about that. But Kyrie Irving looked like a shell of himself in this series. Kyrie Irving looked like at the moment that the pressure got to him, that Kyrie sucked chance from that Boston crowd. And I'm going to tell you about that Boston crowd. That Boston crowd is no joke. We all know the long line of history of how that Boston crowd, and we're not talking about the players, the crowd itself can get into players' head. It's no joke. And they let Kyrie Irving know that. They let Kyrie Irving know that you are now an outsider. You can't forget about the stuff how Kyrie Irving did that team, man. I mean, telling the guys telling the whole crowd he was going to re-sign and all that. Then a year later, it's to back out and team up with Kevin Durant. We all know about the conversation they were having. They teamed up in Brooklyn. That was a disaster. And Boston, for every right, Boston let him have it. They let him have it. It was a young core at the time with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and Kyrie Irving was supposed to be the front runner of it. Just got out of Cleveland, wanted to be his own man. We all know that year when a young Jason Tatum matched up against LeBron in his last year with the Cleveland Cavaliers, when he carried that team with Larry Nance Jr., Jordan Clarkson, and those boys to the NBA Finals against the Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, the Big Five Golden State Warriors that year, man, which was resulted in his last year. We all remember that Kyrie Irving was out that entire for the rest of the playoffs with a knee injury. We all know he had some contusion in his knee that year, and ultimately said he was going to resign, and wasn't a man of his word. Kyrie Irving was a completely different person then. Now, we all know Kyrie Irving's a great guy. He's very spiritual. Love Kyrie Irving off the court. And but, man, when you're talking about strictly how he played, his performance in this finals, absolutely horrendous. At the highest level. And I give it to Jaylen Brown, man. My hat goes out to those guys, man. Jaylen Brown, I believe the NBA got it right. He definitely would deserve Finals MVP because, I mean, I believe from start to finish, he was the best. He was the best player. He was a highly ultra effective and the most effective player for the Boston Celtics. That played a huge part in why they won this game. It's not very often. It's not very often that you see in the NBA guys getting full court press, but dang it, you seen it last night with Jaylen Brown. He picked up the absolutely toughest assignment from Dallas. He said, you know what, we're going to end this series tonight. He came out, he said, hey, we're not going back to Dallas. We're not going back to Dallas. We all know that tape that leaked out in the locker room with Jason Kidd saying we're going back to Boston for Game 5. Well, heck dang it. Jaylen Brown said we're ending it tonight. We're not going back to Dallas. We're ending it tonight. And they did that, man. I mean, Jaylen Brown, man, absolutely. I mean, what a game. 21 points, 6 assists, 8 rebounds. Jason Tatum, like I said, stepped up big time. I mean, absolutely big time in this game. Had 2 30-point performances in this series. I mean, he was amazing in this game. Almost a triple-double, 31 points, 8 rebounds, and 11 assists. The young kid that was stepped to the K. He was another one. Played good even in the games. I mean, game 1 and game 2, Jason Tatum wasn't really Jason Tatum was not gonna. When we think about how he played in this series, it's not really gonna unfold or untake a lot of scoring, big time scoring numbers. But he did. But when the ball wasn't typically finding the net, because keep in mind, Jason Tatum was 11 for 24 field goal percentage last night, 11 for 24 from the field, 45% from the field, and 1 from 7 from 3. He had shot 14.3% from the 3-point line. That's absolutely horrible. But when you look, they also had 2 steals to go along with Jaylen Brown. The Jay Brothers had 4 steals combined. They both had 2 apiece. You can't knock that, man. And that's what we're looking for. Game changing plays, stuff that might not show up on the stat sheet. And then don't forget about Jrue Holiday. Don't forget about Jrue Holiday and Derek White. Heck, Derek White dang near lost his teeth going out there for a loose ball. My condolences go out for Derek White, man. I hope he's all right. But man, that man battled, man. Jrue Holiday put up 15, Derek White 14, and you look at Kristaps Porzingis, the impact that he had, even though he would not have to play. Probably we know he wasn't 100% throughout this series. We know he didn't have to play as many games as he would have liked, but his impact was felt from the moment this series started, going off for 20 points in game 1. And I said this, he's going to be the difference maker in order for Boston to win this series. And I said that. And I also said that defense could be a huge factor. Because one thing I said this, and one thing I said, and I go back to this Minnesota Timberwolves series, I will always say that Minnesota did not make Luka work like that. And I'm going to bring up an interesting stat, y'all. I'm going to bring up an interesting stat for my listeners here. And I think we've seen this stat going around from Bugs, X-Beater going around. This stat been going around that we've seen about Luka Doncic. And I pulled it up. I had pulled it up. And this stat is crazy. What's it called? Luka has allowed the highest blow-by percentage allowed. Luka has the highest blow-by percentage allowed on drives in a single playoff series over the last 10 years. Going into the Boston Celtics series, the Boston Celtics has 66.7% drive efficiency. That's one-on-one. Me taking you to the basket on Luka Doncic. In the Clippers series, they had their way with him. 65.2%. In the Thunder, 59%. So teams are dang near average, are 70%. Are almost getting past you on one-on-one. That's what teams are just flat out going right at you. And if you don't believe me, Brian, you can pull up Brian Windhorst. He said the exact same. The reason why, and I'm gonna tell you something. We can talk about Kyrie Irving. He did not play good. He would look like a deer with headlights. No doubt about it. The Boston crowd definitely got tickets to whatever you want to, but it got to him. It got to him. It got to Uncle Drew. But we got to hold Luka accountable too, because it's gonna be about how you rebound in life and society in this world we live in. We're gonna fall. We're gonna make mistakes. We can think about LeBron. We can think about Jordan. Kobe Bryant was swept. LeBron was swept. I mean, they all lost to the same team 11 times. We're all gonna. It's about how you respond and how you bounce back. And this is a young team, and Dallas is gonna have a chance to bounce back from this and learn from this, especially if Luka Doncic. I mean, don't get me wrong. He averaged 29.2 points per game in this series. Averaged 30 points per game on the season. Could have won MVP, no doubt about it. But one thing I will say, Luka Doncic, you have to take this side of the ball personally. You have to take defense personally. Man, these brothers are going at you. I mean, going at you. It's 5-on-4 basically. It's essentially 5-on-4. I mean, it is absolutely horrible, and that was a big factor of how the Boston Celtics were able to beat Dallas. And you go back to the game 3, it was tight. Kyrie Irving was playing like the Kyrie Irving that we know. Luka Doncic backed him up with a hot 27. Man, The J brothers both had 30 apiece. Jay Tatum had 31 in game 3, and Jaylen Brown backed them up like 1 point less with 30 points. You can't have that, man. And most of them, and we're going right at Luka Doncic. If I'm the Dallas Mavericks this offseason, I'm taking Luka Doncic aside, rather if it's Jason Kidd, rather if it's somebody has to show him some tape and show him, man, if we're gonna get back here, and if we're gonna be a championship team, and if we're gonna be a team that's gonna go back in next year and prove ourselves as being a championship team, you have to play better defense than this. And we can talk about Derrick Jones. We can talk about Tim Hardaway Jr. We can talk about getting a third star and getting them in the mix and all that. Because I do believe some of the lineups and some of the was a little sketchy from Jason Kidd. I mean, I don't understand why Max Kleber was playing so much. I didn't understand Dante Exum as much minutes as he was getting. I didn't understand when Max Kleber, the games he was hot, she was hardly hot throughout this whole series, while playing. Because with a guy like that, we all know Max Kleber does not serve you no good on the court if he's not making the threes. Seriously, his job is to stretch the floor and be a spot-up shooter. He's not gonna protect the rim. He's not gonna slide his feet on the perimeter and lock down and talk. He's not gonna do that. He's not gonna do that. He's not a real athlete. I mean, I got no hate for Max Kleber. He's an excellent three-point shooter, but if he's not making that three-point shot, what good is he to you? So I didn't understand a lot of that. Joe Mazzulla flat out you got to tip the cap off of this team. Joe Mazzulla was the outright better coach. Boston was the better team. And don't get me wrong, a lot was relied on the shoulders of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. No doubt about that either. A lot was typically relied on their shoulders this game. It really was, honestly. They had, we look at Boston, man, their two guys could afford, and here's what the difference in this series. Boston's their two guys could afford to start slow, get off to a slow start. They could afford that. Dallas guys couldn't do it. Because, see, what they had Kristaps Porzingis who can back him up and can go off for 20. Dang near average it on the season. Derek White, we can bring the ball up the floor, run the offense, 3-and-D guy all day. Drew Holiday, Peyton Pritchard off the bench. I mean, Bowser when he's hot. Coming up. They have guys they can rely on. Boston does not have that luxury. What was the talk of all this? Mavericks might have, and I'm one of the ones that spoke out on this. The Dallas Mavericks might have had this Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, statistically, might go down as one of the greatest backcourt duos in NBA history, offensively speaking, no doubt about it. But when you look at it, Kyrie Irving will be approaching 33 years of age this upcoming season. Luka Doncic, we have to start thinking about will he ever elevate on the defensive side of the ball? Because if he doesn't, will they be looking about moving him after a couple of years, or just building this team mainly defense to support his lack of defensive liability? All these questions are going to start getting taken into account. But they didn't have options like that. Derek White's not that. Derek White will give you great defense. He did. He was a big part of slowing down Anthony Edwards in the Minnesota Timberwolves series. But when you're talking about scoring, the Dallas Mavericks needed scoring to beat Boston, period. They needed scoring, and they didn't get hardly nearly enough of it. I mean, they might as well would have got swept. They hardly got nearly enough of it. You have to, and they're going to be bad. And it's going to be a testimony for them. It's going to be tough. They're going to have a lot to think about this offseason. And they're going to have to think about, is this team good enough? Is this team, even with this roster, as far as, because don't get me wrong, Boston, keep in mind, guys, Boston was the 5th seed. No, not Boston. Dallas was the 5th seed this year. Dallas came in as the 50-32 ball club. They were the 5th seed. And you look at their path to get here, Clippers in 6. It was Clippers in 6 in the first round. Then they took on OKC. OKC, that was in 6, second round. And then a tough Minnesota squad took care of them boys in 5. Boston was a great team all year long. No doubt about it. Say what you want to about the East, but they went 64-18. They were a great team all the way, all year long. And you guys will say you have to give credit when credit is due. I mean, they were great all year long, man. And I tip my cap off to them, no doubt about it. And then they played great. They played phenomenal basketball. Not only in this series, they went 16-3 in the postseason, only losing 3 games. Only losing 3 games in this postseason. Like I said, man, I give my tip goes off to Boston. Without a doubt. My hat goes off to them, man. They did their thing. Congratulations. They are our world champions. And now, next topic. With the 18th banner will soon to be hung up this upcoming season. Does this mean that the Boston Celtics now have surpassed the Los Angeles Lakers as the best franchise in the NBA? Me, I'm a Lakers guy all day. I'm gonna say no. And some guys are gonna be about the hardwood. It's gonna be about the rings and all this and that. And yeah, and yes, the Boston Celtics do have that one more ring than the Lakers. But keep in mind, the Boston Celtics have not won, didn't win matter of fact, has not won the NBA Finals since 2008 against the Los Angeles Lakers. Kobe Bryant, Trevor Ariza, Paul Gasol, and back in those boys, back with the Kevin Garnett, Rajon Rondo, Paul Pierce here, Kendrick Perkins here. Lakers have 9 more appearances. Lakers have 32 final appearances. And when you look at the state, and let's keep in mind, 11 of those banners came from the great Bill Russell's 13-year career with Boston back in the 60s. Let's not forget about that either. Let's not forget about that either. We've seen the Lakers do it with abundance of teams, with so many different teams, man. I mean, they've done it with a abundance of teams. They've done it for a long time. You think about Kobe Bryant, you think about Will Chamberlain. I mean, heck, you can make an argument that 10 guys, 10 other, when you talk about the top 5 or top 10 all-time best players of all time, you can at least say 8 to 10 of those guys can be Lakers. At least 8 guys are Lakers, all-time Lakers. You have to make that argument. So, like I said, congratulations to Boston. But to me, I still have to give the fork to Los Angeles Lakers, man. When you think about the NBA, you think they're the biggest brand in basketball. Lakers, man. Like I said, you think about Kobe Bryant, you think about Wilt, and I think what separates them, man, is that that. And don't get me wrong, the Celtics do have the edge over the Lakers. Celtics do have the edge over Boston, over the Lakers when it comes to their, because they've matched up a lot of times. I believe they matched up 7 times in finals history, and Celtics do have that edge, man. But we look at how the Celtics have done it. Most of that came in one era, when basketball was still evolving, versus the Lakers has done it essentially in every year, and that's something that definitely we have to take into account, but no doubt about it, no fluctuation about it, man. I definitely think that the Lakers still do hold that. To me, Lakers still do hold that title, even though the Celtics do have one more ring. But the Lakers, like I said, it's gonna be you can make an argument for either one. And after they, but the backtrack on Dallas, what's gonna make, and the Celtics have a better chance. The Celtics have a better chance to get to the NBA Finals for at least the next 3 years with this core, because the East is just insanely more easier. What's going to hurt Dallas is going to be that conference. The Western Conference is extremely tough, and it's only going to get tougher. You think about the Denver Nuggets; they're not going nowhere. They just have to rebuild and fill the void of what got them to the finals the first time last year in 2020 and 2023. Just get you a bench. I always said letting go of guys like Jeff Green and Bruce Brown. They were essential parts of that team. That puts a lot more pressure and stress on Jokic and Jamal Murray, which you seen that was a lot of last year. Then you got the rise of the OKC Thunder. I mean, heck, this OKC Thunder was not even projected to even be the number 1 seed this year. For crying out loud, saying this was Chet Holmgren's rookie year, and they were the number 1 seed, number 1 team in the West. They didn't have no experience. That's when they went on the second round. Now with the experience under their belt, they know who their dog is. And SGA, and my favorite, it was my pick for MVP. They're going to be back next year. What's it called? Let's not even forget about the Minnesota Timberwolves, who's a young and hungry team. We all know about Cat Williams. We all know about Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. Those guys are going to be back. Chris Finch, no doubt about it, should have won Coach of the Year, in my opinion. That dude has done an absolutely flat-out job with that team. Those guys aren't going nowhere. Think about the Houston Rockets. They wrote the Golden State bumper for the last stretch of the season. Man, they almost had the Warriors for that play-in spot. We know they're going to get better. Ime Udoka, I said that when he first took the job in Houston. Whoever that man goes to is going to be a culture setter. He's going to be a franchise changer. Ime Udoka is the real deal, and he knows how to get the extreme most out of his players, especially his young guys. We're not even talking about Victor Wembanyama here. We know Victor Wembanyama is going to be a problem. We know Greg's only a matter of time until Greg Popovich builds a team that perfect assembles the right team around that young man right there. And then as long as LeBron James, the ghost of LeBron James is still playing, you have to respect the Los Angeles Lakers and what they can form of do. And that's a lot more things we can get into. John Morant will be back this upcoming season, and then we all know what he's about. He's going to come back hungry, refreshed, and ready to prove something. Everybody's been talking about this Anthony Edwards boy. What, did you forget about me? Did you forget about me? We know we didn't forget. I didn't forget about John Morant. He's going to be back this upcoming season. He's going to have something to want to roar about. And now it brings on to my next and last and final topic. I want to talk about who could potentially be the next head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers. And we all know, unfortunately, it won't be Dan Hurley. It won't be Dan Hurley, unfortunately. He's going to try to repeat, do something that has never been done before. Try to three-peat the national title at UConn. Wish him the best of luck. That man is a great coach. He is redefining the odds of offense in college basketball, and I believe will do the same thing in the NBA. And who's to say he's not going to be in the NBA? I mean, to have the opportunity to be able to three-peat and do something no coach has ever done in NCAA history will be absolutely impeccable, man. I mean, why not go do it? And who's to say doesn't want to coach in the NBA? Let me go ahead and three-peat, and then maybe if the job is still there, maybe when LeBron's probably retired, we don't know how at this point we don't know how much longer that LeBron James has. We all know that his career is winding down. We all know about the legacy he's created, the generations he's inspired. From chosen one to falling short, no matter how tough the road ever got, that man has epitomately never stopped at the sport. And his career is winding down soon. I do expect him to play another year or two. Where that will be, don't know. But with the fire and the Darvin Ham at the 2 seeds, I mean, no offense to that, brother, but the Lakers do need somebody if they're serious about winning, if they're serious about giving LeBron at least one more. Because we all know at this point of his career, LeBron James is ready to have one last dance. He's ready to have one last dance if he can get it. But one thing he's learning now, he already got the part that big threes aren't going to do it no more. You're going to need your big two, and you're going to need a supporting cast around you now. Or you're going to be ended up looking like the Phoenix Suns over there with Kevin Durant with no depth, relying on Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal. When those guys don't show up, you have nobody. Absolutely nobody. And so I think he's learning that now. And now you're learning that you're going to need a head coach. The problem is, who's going to be willing to take the head coaching job? We all hearing the speculation about J.J. Redick. And don't get me wrong, I love J.J. Redick. I love watching this podcast, Mind the Game podcast, because I love how him and LeBron are breaking down the game different than how guys like Dan Orlowski, Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, R.C. Blake, how we as commentators, how we break down the game, because they're actually talking about the X's and O's. That's not what you get from those shows right there. That's not what you get from these guys. And it makes sense because these are guys who actually play the game. And I'm telling y'all right now, if you're an athlete and you want to play basketball and you want to play at the highest level, because like I always say, man, if you're not extremely highly athletic, if you're not the tallest person in the room or on the court, you have to be able to think basketball. You have to be able to think the game. And I don't think there's any place better to go to right now than to learn the game of basketball and learn the ins and outs of the game than the Mind the Game podcast with LeBron James and J.J. Redick. It is an absolutely extremely wonderful podcast. I totally recommend it to go watch, especially for my athletes out there, my AAU guys and stuff like that. I really recommend y'all watch that podcast, and really just even coaches, watch it. You can learn a lot from that podcast. No doubt about it. And I believe J.J. Redick is a very smart man to be sitting over there talking basketball with LeBron James. For LeBron James to do a podcast with anybody, keep in mind, he's not historically known for doing stuff like this. He's really not. So for him to be on the air starting this with J.J. Redick, is it a sign that he wants him to be the Lakers head coach? I don't know. But I will tell you this, though. You have to give him a shot. And if J.J. Redick does get a shot, if he does end up getting the job, I'm going to tell J.J. Redick right now, he's going to have to be on his P's and Q's like that, because you're not going to get this Lakers franchise, man. We're talking about a franchise that wants to win. It's not going to be they're not going to play around with you. They're not going to play around with you. You're not going to get time to figure it out. This is a franchise that wants to win now. LeBron is trying to win now. We're all knowing about this speculations of Bronny James and where he's been going. His kid has publicly said his dream is just to get to the NBA and not specifically play alongside his dad, which I understand. Why would you want to have the same name as your dad? I mean, he might not. I mean, if he doesn't, I wish the kid the best of luck. But he's not projected to be like his dad, nothing like his dad. He needs to have his own identity, and that's apparently what he said he wants. So whether that's playing with his dad or not, LeBron has to do what's best for him. LeBron has to do what's best for him, and his son has to do what's best for him. This is not LeBron's career. This is Bronny's career. I don't know how many times we're gonna have to state that. And I'm gonna tell you right now, and I think somewhere like Dallas, and I think somewhere like possibly maybe the Oklahoma City Thunder, potentially for him, could be good for him. Teams like that could be good for him. But I think playing alongside his dad, great as I would love to see it, it would just be too much. And it would just be too much. Now we all know the speculation that's surrounding him and all that. But I think as far as the Lakers' next head coach, it has to. If it's going to be J.J. Redick, like I said, he has to figure out who's going to be your staff, who's the staff's going to be. Who are you going to emulate? All this stuff's going to be taken into account. You got to watch. You got to figure out how you're going to restructure this team, and that's going to be the first thing. And y'all, this Lakers job is not going to be easy. That's another thing y'all want to get out the woodworks too. Whoever it is, whether if it was Dan Hurley, whether if it was J.J. Redick, whether if it was that dude from Charlotte, my guy from Charlotte. It doesn't matter. Whether if it was Mike Budenholzer, we all know who has speculations of. Whoever takes this lake, it's not going to be easy. It's not. Because first of all, as long as LeBron James is there, which we expect him to be, I know we all hear about him going to the Big D, him possibly going to Philadelphia. Look, LeBron's finishing this chapter in LA. LA is going to be where it ends, regardless of how his career, right? A few wins, but it's going to be in LA. You have to figure out how to assemble the right team around. LeBron's going to be 40 years old come December 30th this year, and the time is winding down. He doesn't have long left, and I'm telling you, this job is not easy because when you have to be somebody LeBron really respects. And the last coach I remember LeBron really respecting was Tyronn Lue. And Tyronn Lue, no matter about it, was not as good as Eric Spoelstra, but he still respected him. Tyronn Lue commanded that respect and pushed LeBron James. We all know that LeBron James, Tyronn Lue telling LeBron James, we need more from you. In the NBA Finals when they were going against Golden State, when they came back down through, we need more from you. Asking LeBron, who was already giving him a lot. And when you're a guy like that, when you're able to step to a guy like that, the greatest player arguably in this generation, you have to have you have to have some grit. You have to have some tough balls. It's called like it is. You have to be tough. And Darvin Ham sometimes came off as not being a coach. He came off sometimes as being a fan. And I'm just calling it like I see it. And we all know that he took the job back. He's back on the part of the Milwaukee Bucks staff. I think he's going to be back as his old reigns, the assistant coach. And I think Darvin Ham could be good for a young team one day. Not saying Darvin Ham won't ever be a good coach in this league, but coaching this 2023-2024 Los Angeles Lakers team with a 39-year-old LeBron James on it, who is in desperate to go out, will have one last dance, and in the end of his career, and at the end point of his career, it is very important. You cannot have too many mess ups. Especially nothing like no bad coaching, bad rotations, having guys we don't know who the heck is doing out there. It can't happen. Calling timeouts at unnecessary times. It can't happen. And a lot of guys, don't get me wrong, 2 years, got the Lakers to the playoffs. First year, led the Lakers to the Western Conference Finals. Let's be honest, it's kind of quite easy. A lot of guys probably could have led the Los Angeles Lakers to the Western Conference Finals last year. Truth be told. When you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis leading the way, and you got swept by Denver, you lost to the team 11 straight times in a row before beating them in a pivotal game 4. We almost got swept again in LA when LeBron had 30 points. This Lakers job's not going to be easy. You got to move some pieces. We know D'Angelo Russell cannot come back after that horrible game 3. After that horrible game 3 he had against Denver. I mean, he didn't show up in the Western Conference Finals. He only had 8 threes in the Western Conference Finals in 2023. In 2023 last year, total and throughout the whole series, he was a no-show. And in this series again, in Game 3, the man had. In the Game 3, the man had 0 points. I mean, God dog. I mean, are you trying to stink up the joints at 0 points in 21 minutes and you put up 8 shots? I mean, you can't have that. You're going to have to figure out what you're going to do. The Lakers need somebody who's going to utilize their role play, get the most out of guys like Rui Hachimura. I love Rui Hachimura, but I think Rui Hachimura is good, not great. I like Austin Reeves, but he has a lot of work to do, and I don't know if this is the ceiling for Austin Reeves, because I expect him to have a big jump at the playing, especially at the playing coming off of USA basketball this past summer. A lot of games throughout the season, a lot throughout the first round playoffs. He was not did not let the Austin Reeves that we seen last year throughout the Lakers postseason run against Memphis and against Golden State. Not at all. The Lakers were injured this year. No Jared Vanderbilt. Gabe Vincent didn't come back literally to the last days of the Lakers season. So the Lakers really did not have their whole team this year, honestly, which also could be a big point to why they once again fell short. And not only that, like LeBron said, he said he invested himself on his Mind the Game podcast. Y'all heard LeBron James say it. The better team won. You give credit when credit's due. Period. The better team won. And yes, they ultimately had opportunities to steal a game, but that's all it was. When you hear the Lakers were not the better team. The Los Angeles Lakers were not the better team. They weren't the better team last year. They weren't the better team this year. They weren't the better team. And when they're not the better team, LeBron said, we got to steal games. You have to have luck. You have to have things that go right. And the Lakers played them. I mean, it was a competitive series. But Jamal Murray had 2 game winners. They're just the better team. And when it comes down to capitalizing and when it comes down to closing, the Denver Nuggets and Jamal Murray showed the Lakers once again who their daddy was. And that was just evident. Last year and this year. The only difference was just a 1-game difference. So in the last 2 years, basically in the last 2 years combined, they played the Nuggets 8 times in the postseason. The Nuggets are 7-1 in the postseason. Swept them in the Western Conference Finals. That's 4. and did them in 4 again. That's 8-1 and the 1 game for 8-1. Yeah, 8-1. 8-1. So we're gonna keep our eyes open on that. I do project JJ Redick to be the next head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers, and that's gonna conclude my video. Thank y'all guys for listening to Shooting for the Stars pod with the one and only Cameron Williams. And make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see y'all in the next upload. Thank y'all, and wherever y'all watching, I hope y'all have a great day.